Sagittarius. An inevitable farewell will happen soon. Be careful. Sagittarius, I invite you to breathe with me, slowly, deeply as I say this. A farewell is coming, and it's one you cannot avoid. But before fear rises, listen closely. This isn't the kind of ending that breaks you. It's the kind that releases you from the version of yourself that you've quietly outgrown. If you've been feeling restless, uncertain, strangely emotional for no clear reason, you're not imagining it. You're sensing what the stars have already begun to whisper, that something you've carried or someone you've clung to is no longer aligned with where your soul is headed. And on a spiritual level, you already know this. The cosmos is preparing a rare energetic alignment that directly affects Sagittarius, activating your house of transformation and spiritual freedom. Pluto, the planet of deep shedding and sacred rebirth, is making contact with your higher truth. This is not about punishment. It's about permission to let go of what is complete, to make space for what is real. This is the moment to listen with your heart, not your history. Stay with me as we walk through what this energy truly means. And if something inside you is already stirring, quietly nodding, then I invite you to like, share, or subscribe. Not as routine, but as a soul-deep commitment. I am ready for this next chapter. Gate 1. When the fire fades. Saying goodbye to what no longer fuels you. Sagittarius, your spirit was never designed for small spaces. You are the fire that leaps beyond borders. The traveler who lives for open skies, wide truths, and unfiltered freedom. But here's the truth: the stars are now gently, yet firmly revealing. You've been tethered. Not by force but by familiarity. Not by chains but by roles, routines, and rhythms that no longer reflect who you're becoming. And on this path of expansion, a farewell is not just inevitable. It's essential. The first place this farewell will surface is in the area of your daily life. The habits, environments, and pursuits that once energized you but now feel strangely empty. You might wake up and wonder why something that used to excite you feels like dust in your hands. A job, a project, even a passion may begin to lose its glow. But this is not failure. It's revelation. You see, Sagittarius, your fire is sacred, and the universe is asking, are you still feeding it the right fuel? Let me tell you about Miguel, a 46-year-old Sagittarius who had built a stable, outwardly impressive life. A leadership role, a full calendar, a life many envied. But inside, he felt increasingly numb. It's like I was living in a version of myself that expired, he told me. Then, during a spiritual retreat, he felt the message arrive like thunder. It's time to release what no longer reflects your spirit. Within 3 months, Miguel stepped back from his career. Not to escape, but to realign. He began offering nature-based workshops, something he dreamed of for years but always postponed. I didn't lose my power, he said. I reclaimed it. And Sagittarius, this is what June's farewell energy offers you. Not loss, reclamation. The rare Pluto alignment is acting like a cosmic spotlight, showing you where your life has become performative, where you're still doing out of momentum, not meaning, where your schedule is full but your soul is starving. What part of your life looks successful from the outside, but no longer stirs truth on the inside? That's where the shedding begins. Maybe it's the creative work that once lit you up, but now feels forced. Maybe it's the friendship that's based on a version of you you no longer recognize. Maybe it's the identity, the title, the label you've carried so long it became a cage. On the surface, this may feel like disappointment, but at its root, it's destiny. Because a Sagittarius out of alignment is not just restless, they're lost in plain sight. And that loss? It creates leaks in your energy, your clarity, your joy. June 2025 brings an opportunity to close those leaks. But it requires truth. And truth, as you know, can be inconvenient. You may feel the urge to pull back, to spend more time alone, to step away from the things that once defined you. Trust this urge. It's your soul reorganizing. It's the fire recalibrating, burning off what's no longer necessary. Some people around you may not understand. They may question why you're less available, why you're letting go of something so good, why you're walking away from stability. But Sagittarius, you've never been meant for stability. You've been meant for alignment. And the two are not always the same. This chapter asks you to release not just what you've outgrown, but the need to explain that to everyone. Because this is not about proving anything. It's about preserving your fire. Here's a gentle practice I offer you. In the week before June 30th, set aside one quiet evening. Light a candle. Take a blank sheet of paper and write the question. What am I holding on to that I no longer have energy for? Then pause. Listen. Let the answers arrive without force. Write down everything, even if it doesn't make sense. Even if it scares you. Because those answers are not random. They are road signs. And when you honor them, even in small ways, the realignment begins. You may start by taking a sabbatical from something, or setting a new boundary, or simply saying the sacred words. This is no longer for me. Each act of letting go is a return to clarity, vitality, and sovereignty. And the more space you clear, the more magic flows in. This isn't about burning bridges. It's about honoring chapters, saying thank you and goodbye, releasing with love. Not because it wasn't worthy, but because you've changed. So, Sagittarius, where in your life is the fire dimming? And what would happen if, instead of forcing it to stay lit, you let it go and trusted that a new flame is waiting to be born? Gate 2, letting go of what once defined you. The relationship that can't come with you. Sagittarius, this next part may feel tender. And it should. Because now we're entering the place where goodbyes are not about schedules or routines, but about hearts. About roles. About the people and patterns that have walked beside you for so long, they almost feel like part of your identity. But the universe is whispering ever so gently. Not everything that has loved you is meant to last forever. And that includes a relationship, a soul bond, or a deep emotional attachment that once carried you, but is now quietly asking to be released. On June 30th, under the rare alignment between Pluto and your ruling planet Jupiter, a truth will rise to the surface. Something in your emotional life is ending. Not to punish you, but to purify your path. You may feel it now. That quiet distance in someone's voice. That sense of mismatch where there was once harmony. That painful realization that a dynamic you've poured energy into no longer mirrors the love or purpose it once held. This is not about blame. It's about alignment. Let me tell you about Noelle, a 42-year-old Sagittarius woman who had been in a long, emotionally layered friendship. We shared everything, she said. Our pasts, our pain. We raised each other in a way. But over time, she started to feel like she was shrinking in that friendship, walking on eggshells, holding back her growth so the connection wouldn't crack. I realized, she told me, that I was keeping the friendship alive to avoid being alone, not because it was still alive in me. On June 30th last year, she sat in silence and wrote a letter to this friend. She never sent it, but in writing it, she grieved, honored, and released something that had defined her for a decade. Sagittarius, this is the kind of farewell many of you will face now. Not with drama, not with a slam of a door, but with a sacred stillness, a knowing, a breath, a truth you can't unsee. The Pluto portal doesn't always remove people physically. Sometimes it simply rearranges your energy. You might remain in contact, but something will shift. The role they played will dissolve. The cord will loosen. And with that release, comes space. And that space, it's not empty. It's holy. Because what once defined you, the relationship, the role, the expectation, is no longer needed. You've outgrown it. You've outlived it. And now something more authentic is ready to take its place. Perhaps it's a romantic relationship where the passion has turned to obligation. Perhaps it's a mentor whose voice once empowered you, but now controls you. Perhaps it's a version of yourself that always had to be the caretaker, the leader, the strong one, and your spirit is whispering, I want something gentler now. This farewell will not always be clear-cut. Sometimes it will come through dreams, through unexpected conversations, or in the subtle ache of emotional disconnection. But here's what I want you to remember. Not every chapter ends in catastrophe. Some simply complete themselves. Sagittarius, you are loyal to a fault when your heart is involved. You will stay. You will try. You will carry. But this time your freedom is on the other side of surrender. There is a beauty in mourning something that once held meaning. In saying, this mattered. This shaped me. But it no longer defines me. You don't need to make anyone the villain. You don't need to make yourself the victim. You just need to release the role. And what's waiting on the other side of that release is something extraordinary. Emotional sovereignty. The ability to hold your own heart without outsourcing your worth. Here's what I suggest. On or around June 30th, create a quiet space. No phone. No distractions. Light a candle. Place your hand on your chest and ask yourself, what role, relationship, or emotional tie have I been afraid to let go of? Then write. Let it all come. Rage. Grief. Gratitude. Confusion. Love. This is not about letting go in anger. It's about letting go in truth. If a goodbye must come, let it be honest. Let it be blessed. Because sometimes the greatest act of love for yourself and the other is to set each other free. And remember, you are not losing a person. You are releasing a pattern, so that a new connection, rooted in your current truth, can find you. Gate 3, the soul's quiet turning. Farewell to who you once were. Sagittarius, the final farewell isn't always to a person. Sometimes it's to a version of yourself. A self that once protected you, that once helped you survive, but now quietly asks to be set down. And this perhaps is the most sacred parting of all, because you, of all signs, know what it means to evolve, to move, to explore the unseen. But what few understand, and what the stars are now gently asking you to remember, is that the greatest journey you'll ever take is the one back to your soul. The alignment between Pluto and your soul planet, Jupiter, is creating a portal of inner awakening. Not loud, not chaotic, but deep, unshakable. The kind of shift that doesn't scream change. It whispers truth. And here's the truth. The person you've been is no longer who you need to be. Not because they were wrong, not because they failed, but because their mission is complete. That brave, bright, striving version of you, who held the line, kept it together, carried the pressure, is ready to be released. Maybe it was the perfectionist, the warrior, the wanderer always running before being seen too deeply, the caregiver who gave to others but forgot their own softness, the dreamer who kept postponing the life they really wanted. This version, this costume, is not your enemy. It was your initiation. But now it's time to take it off, because something more honest, more whole, more true is trying to emerge. This is the heart of Pluto's work. Transformation not through force but through truth. And truth often begins with stillness, silence, surrender. Let me tell you about Ezra, a 50-year-old Sagittarius who had always been known as the motivator. He inspired others, held space, created magic. But in the quiet of his own heart, he felt disconnected, like he was performing inspiration instead of living in it. I didn't even realize I was exhausted from being who people expected me to be, he told me. Until one morning I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to post, lead, or explain. I just wanted to be. That morning, he walked into the forest without his phone and cried for 3 hours. Not from sadness but release. I said goodbye, he said, to the version of me who always had to have the answer. Since then, Ezra's life has changed in quiet but radical ways. Less noise, more peace, less proving, more presence. Sagittarius, you are arriving at that same moment now. The next version of your life requires the next version of you. Not the louder one or the more impressive one, but the truer one. This is your invitation to let go of the self-image, the patterns, the spiritual masks that no longer match the person you're becoming. You're being asked to return, not to the past but to your core. The you beneath the roles, beneath the armor, beneath the endless movement. What would happen if you no longer needed to be anything except free? That question, that surrender is what opens the gate. And yes, grief may follow, even for growth, because to let go of an old self is to mourn the safety they once gave you. But in their place rises sovereignty, not confidence built on praise but rooted in knowing, not happiness dependent on outcomes but peace based in presence. Here's a practice I offer you. On June 30th, take a moment to sit in stillness. No intention, no goal. Just breath, just being. Place your hand on your chest and ask, what part of me is ready to be released with love? Listen, feel. Even if nothing comes in words, trust what shifts in your body. Then if it calls to you, write a letter. Not to anyone else, but to the you that you're now releasing. Thank them. Bless them. Let them go. And as you close the letter, say aloud, I am not leaving myself behind. I am returning home. Because this is not a farewell of loss. It is a homecoming. To your essence. To your light. To your inner fire. no longer scattered but sovereign. And Sagittarius, when that return happens, the world will not need you to explain. It will simply feel your shift and respond in kind. Conclusion: not the end but the return. Sagittarius, you've reached the threshold, not of an ending but of a becoming. We've spoken of the things that no longer feed your fire, of the relationships that once held you but now hold you back, of the version of you who fought, carried, performed, and is finally ready to rest. June 30th, 2025 is not just a date on a calendar. It's a portal. And the one thing it asks is this: will you walk through with both hands free? Free from what's expired. Free from roles that dim your truth. Free from the fear of outgrowing the life you once begged for. This is your moment to rise. Not in noise or applause, but in quiet, grounded knowing. To say, yes, I am ready to live aligned with who I really am. And if something in this message stirred your soul, if a part of you whispered, I've known this all along, then let that be your sign. Your sign that you're not alone, that your path is unfolding, that the letting go will lead you back to yourself. If this resonated, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What are you ready to release? What part of you is asking to be reclaimed? And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom and join this space where your growth is honored and your soul is seen. The farewell is happening, Sagittarius, but so is your homecoming. And the version of you that's waiting on the other side? They're not afraid. They're free.